Thanks very much, Phil, for that. We'll certainly get another update from him in a short while. Now, the deaths of 14 people believed to be illegal miners in Benoni, east of Johannesburg, and the ongoing case in Virginia Free State involving 22 illegal miners and another illegal mining incident in Mpumalanga have once again brought illegal mining activities to the spotlight. The arguments in Virginia included submissions that illegal mining had led to some mining companies shutting down operations. David Van Wyk is with the Benchmark Foundation. He's also done research into illegal mining, otherwise called the Zama-Zama business, and he's in studio with us. Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Firstly, let's start off. Talk to us a little bit more about the Benchmark Foundation.
Well, the Benchmark Foundation is associated with South African Council of Churches, and we're an organization that looks at ethical investment and corporate social responsibility. We're looking particularly at the behavior of corporations that operate in South Africa, but also that operate throughout Africa. And our particular focus is in mining, and we work in several countries, in most of SADC, but as far north as Burkina Faso and also in Colombia.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at now what's happening with your research. The Zama-Zama operations, who owns them? Where do they find the markets?
Well, I think that, first of all, we have to look at the decline in gold resources in South Africa, especially in the Gauteng area, where the largest number of Zama-Zamas are. Free State is second. What we find is, as bigger mines abandon mines and mines become derelict and ownerless, the properties on which the mines used to be then become areas for occupation by people who come into Johannesburg from outside. Yeah. There's very little land in Johannesburg as it is, so the poorest of the poor would occupy the areas where there used to be mines. What then happens is that when you had a mine, they start stripping the surface, and your usual customers are the people who are in scrap metal dealings. So they would strip all the metal from the surface, they would strip all the zinc and everything else, and eventually they would strip even the plug that plugs the mine, and that would open the shaft. Okay, they would break it down bit by bit and take out the rods and so on and sell it to the scrap metal dealers. The problem here is the scrap metal dealers, but also the other problem is that the mines are not closed properly, so they're not properly fenced off, they're not secured, and so the public are able to move in. If you come with me on any particular day, I can take you to any old abandoned mine and we can just simply walk in. There will be no security, there will be no signposting, there will be no fencing, there will be absolutely no attempt to secure the operation. So if you go along Main Reef Road, you will find all the abandoned mines have become informal settlements.
Yeah.
You know, you've got huge informal settlements, and every informal settlement then becomes an operation for illegal miners. But we must also understand that people used to come to Johannesburg to come and work in the mines from what was then Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia, Nyasaland, and so on, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, and also Lesotho. Generation after generation, we had Stimula and so on, the songs that came with the migrant labor and so on. Now, the current generation of people who are coming in are finding that there is no jobs, like their fathers, their grandfathers, and so on, 3-4 generations back used to come to Johannesburg. Now suddenly you come to Johannesburg and there are no more mining jobs because most of the mines have shut down.
Yeah.
And as mining declines, so industrial mining will also decline. But there is sufficient gold for small-scale mining to continue. So we need to create a transition in South Africa where you allow for a smooth change from large industrial mining to small-scale mining that is actually more community-driven and job-creating. You must remember there are 30,000 illegal miners in the Gauteng area alone. If you multiply that by 8, it's 250,000 people that depend on small-scale mining.
Yeah.
Now, if you shut down small-scale mining, what you are doing is you are putting 30,000 people and 250,000 dependents in peril.
Yeah,
and so we really need to begin to think about how do we do this.
Some of your suggestions suggest, and I find it quite interesting, is to include formal recognition of these miners and to actually, recognize them and give them the ability to do the mining that they're doing. But do you think these participants will actually go through the process to be able to be recognized?
Well, there is a small-scale unit with the Department of Mineral Resources as it is, but it's too bureaucratic at the moment for it to actually function function in a way that these small-scale miners can understand how it works. Also, the other thing is that many of them are illegal foreigners.
Indeed, I mean, the country is cited. I mean, they say, particularly with this, where they're saying this warfare that's happening at the moment. I mean, the countries, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique. I mean, I'm sure there are more, but I don't know. These are the ones that have been cited. They're illegal immigrants. How do you get them into the process?
Well, I think that first of all we need to recognize that we historically encouraged people to come here from those countries over many decades, you know, since the 1890s basically. And so it is a process which is almost natural in a distant village, that the young men of that village will come and work on the mines in Egoli, you know, in the gold mines. Now, suddenly to stop that process is going to be a very difficult thing, because everybody got on the train and came to Joburg. Anywhere in any of these countries, young people think about coming to Johannesburg. Now, I think the first process which was quite good by the Human Rights Commission was to actually survey the problem 2 years or 3 years ago, to find out how many abandoned mines there are, to find out how many illegal miners there are, and so on, and which provinces this is most prevalent and so on. That's a first step in the process. Now the thing is to organize them into proper business units, and we always promote entrepreneurship. Now these guys are the ultimate entrepreneurs. They're high risk takers. They stay with the job. They organize themselves. You know, there are 500-600 workers in any illegal mine at any time, and they're well organized into security, into guys that provide transport, into, you know. The problem is with the syndicates, and the miners themselves are not the syndicates. The syndicates are the people who buy the gold, and those are the guys who try to control the illegal operations and to consolidate them under their control, and therefore to prevent other people from competing against them. And this is where the illegal miners get killed.
Yeah, and which is what we're seeing right now. They're fighting between each other, which is the problem. Just one final question, if you could answer it quite quickly. I mean, when you mentioned at the beginning that these mines are open, there are no security guards. It's not that it hasn't got the ability to be accessed by anybody. Anyone can go down that mine. You said I could come with you today and we can go in. Shouldn't it be protected property, that nobody should be allowed onto it? I mean, if it is open, surely I can do anything on there.
Well, yes. I think that the responsibility lies with the Department of Mineral Resources and also with the previous owners. People should be prosecuted for abandoning mines.
Indeed.
Because it is actually a criminal offense to abandon a mine. You know, and the sooner we start prosecuting people for abandoning mines, the better. But, you know, at the same time, we need to investigate these mines and see if they are safe for small-scale mining. And then we need to create the structures to allow for small-scale mining, because it is a job creator.
Indeed, and it's a big job creator from what we're hearing, because they're still finding minerals in there. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be doing this. All right, we have to leave it there, but it's a very interesting conversation, and perhaps I'll take you up on that offer one day to come and have a look. I know our reporter, Griselda Lewis, did do an amazing report on the Zama-Zamas and the life and going down there, but I think it's a big story that's not going away, but some interesting points brought up by David Van Wyk. He's a lead researcher at Benchmarks Foundation, talking about formalizing these smaller mines and making it a business, a proper business. Now, most of the convicted Zama-Zamas in the Virginia case hail from countries, as mentioned, from Lesotho, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. They were arrested in Welkom in 2014. They were charged with illegal mining, racketeering and money laundering, among other charges, and the judge is set to hand down sentence on the 13th of March.